Hey guys, it's Amber, and I'm back for the WoW Creative team with some rainbow inspired projects. We're going to be using a stencil and the embossing pen. So, this is the Alta New Molded Lines stencil, and I tried this another way before I decided to just draw it out with a pencil. So, once we start embossing, I'll tell you a little bit about the way I did it the first time. So, this time I've traced the lines and I'm going to color in the lines with the WoW embossing pen. This was far easier than the first technique I used. So this is Love is the Drug. I'm going to be using a pink for my red and my rainbow. And this is a translucent powder. So I'll tell you about the finish of each powder and the color of each powder as we go through it. And my next one is going to be Metalline Flame, which is an opaque powder. So this is an opaque marble. It says OM on the container. This is like a duochrome. Like if you wear eyeshadow and you're familiar with a duochrome, this is orange when you look at it head on, and when you turn it to the side, it turns gold. It is the coolest powder. Primary Lemon is another translucent powder. So your translucent powders are going to be high gloss, at least the ones that I'm using today are. This is Metalline Kiwi Krush. So this is another one that does that color shift, and you can see it there. See how it turns gold when you look at it from the side? But from the front, it's green. It's the coolest thing. And then this is Primary Blue Tang, like the fish, which would go really well with that primary yellow. Actually, if you had a fish stamp, that would be perfect. And then this is Metalline Himalayan Musk. So these melt really beautifully. So that one turns that, it shifts to that gold as well. Now, I made two of these panels, and the first time I did it, I actually used the embossing pen through the stencil, embossed one of the rays, took it off, fit the stencil back over it, and then colored through the stencil again. You guys, that was like so much work. It was much easier this way. So I highly recommend just tracing your lines and coloring it in that way. So I have the Spring Gnomes Stamp and Die Bundle from Simon Says Stamp here, and this has the cutest gnomes in it, you guys. Of course, I have to pick the one with flowers because I love coloring flowers, so I have to pick the girl gnome. So I'm going to stamp this in Alta New Permanent Black ink. You can use any Copic Safe ink. I'm going to Copic color this. And I stamped it twice because I moved it. I moved it when I double stamped it on the other one, so it had a double image. I'm just going to heat set this with my heat tool because otherwise I will smear my ink because I never wait long enough for it to dry. And I'm going to start off with the BG10 for the little hat here, and then I'll come in with a BG13 and I think a BG18. Off camera, I come in with a darker color in almost all of the areas. Well, that's not true. For the hat and her little dress, her outfit, I come in with a darker color because it didn't have enough contrast. I have to be honest, when I was coloring this, I was a little out of sorts. I don't normally color critters or little characters like this, and so I had to actually think about where the shadows need to go. When I color flowers, it's just kind of like automatic. You know where things go. So this was a little bit different. So it did kind of put me out of sorts. For the yellow flower, I use Y13 and Y18. For the orange flower, I use YR18 and YR07. And for the pink flower, I use RV09 and RV04. And I'm just doing really simple two color blends for these. They're very small. There's not a lot of space, so you don't need a lot of detail in those. For the leaves, I'm going to use G07, and I tried to match my colors to the same tones that I had in my embossed rainbow. And then for the hair, I'm going to use B24 and B26. And then I do end up adding some BV17 to darken it up off camera. To color the hair, I basically fill in everything with the lightest color, and then I come in, which is the B24, then I come in with the B26 and almost draw like an L shape in the crease of each one of the plaits, to the braids. And that just adds a little bit of dimension. Like I said, I come in later with a BV17 and darken up those areas. and the shadows. And then I also add a little bit of white gel pen just to add a highlight to a couple of the areas closer to the end as well. For her dress, I use a V04, which is a gorgeous color. I wish they had some colors. The V0 family is such a strange family. The colors don't even look anywhere close to the same. So you would think that the V05 would be similar. It's really not, and you can see it there. It's a completely different tone. So I didn't like how that was mixing at all. I end up coming in with a V17 to add the shadow there. So for the purples, I used V04, V05, and V17, but you could totally omit the V05 and just do the other two, or use whatever purples that you have in your stash. For the little nose, I used E21, E23, and E25. You probably don't need 3 colors, but for my mid-tone, I just didn't pick a dark enough color, so I came in with a darker one. And I'm just going to use the same pinks for the little heart, and then I'll add a drop shadow to the right side of the heart just to kind of pop it off of the outfit a little bit more. Here's where I come in with the V17 and just add some shadow because everything else looked like it had some dimension, not a ton. But this is where I start to darken it up. So I start with the dress, and then, like I said, off camera, I will darken up the hat. So I have a white jelly roll pin here, and this is a 10 size, so it's the larger size, and I'm just adding some highlights there. I cut down my panel with a rounded rectangle die. I popped it up with some sticky back fun foam in orange. And then I have a sentiment that I've cut from the Word Mix 2 dies. So this is actually the Just Because Word Mix 2 with the coordinating dies. I've cut one of the largest heart that you see there is from the Folk Hearts from Ellen Hudson. And then the other 2 are literally just a random die that I have to make confetti. I don't even know what it's from, you guys. I think it might have been free with something that I got. Look at the color shift to gold on those Metalline powders. I just think they're so pretty. And could this gnome be any cuter, you guys? I absolutely love how this turned out. So here's the Word Mix 2, the Just Because Word Mix 2. And I'm going to stamp out a few more because I'm going to create 2 other cards. So like I said, I made 2 of those panels. I used the Folk Heart dies to cut out a heart from the center of one of them. And then I also did the same with a smaller piece of the orange fun foam, the sticky back fun foam, because I like to have the edge go all the way around. I think, especially because this is going to be the centerpiece of the card, it adds a really nice finished touch and another pop of color. I mean, not that we need more color on this card, you guys. I mean, come on. Like, I love bold color, but even this, for me, this is a lot of color. So I'm just going to add a little glue to the back here. And then I popped up that black heart as well. And I made that black heart just by using 2 of the Folk Heart dies and just kind of offsetting them a little bit. And then that was 2 sentiments from the Word Mix set. And then this black heart is also from the Folk Heart set. And I did the same thing. I used that same inner piece of the orange foam and popped that up. And these cards are done. They came together super quickly. So for each of these, I popped up the circular sentiment and then just adhered the kind of tag sentiment directly to the card. And those are the finished cards. So here are some close-ups. So you can see that nice finished edge of the orange fun foam, the beautiful sheen of those metallines, and then that clear high gloss of the translucents, I think work really well together. I had a blast creating these cards, you guys. It makes me want to run out and get more rainbow themed dies and things like that. I really don't have too many in my stash. So I hope that you enjoyed these projects as well and will give it a try. If you do, tag us at Wow Embossing and me at Notable Ink. Be sure to enter your projects at the Wow Embossing fan page on Facebook and subscribe below if you haven't already. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you real soon with more inspiration.